action item? Relative?
Your choice, yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
So which
Oh,
one is
sorry.
that align with? 60 aligns with
11B3.
11B3. And this is just happening because of last meeting being canceled, that we're doing them
Correct.
both at the same time? So it's a bit confusing here. Okay. 11B. Okay, so again, a really detailed list laid out for us. Okay, asbestos removal. So you've got the different companies, the different options for us that are possible here. So we have a whole bunch of options to choose from, different companies. I'm sure there's different, much more behind each company's presentation where you get to read through it and look. Is that that's how bids work, right? Where
Correct.
you have options and scenarios, what you might choose?
Correct.
Okay, so we do that with construction and bids. Okay.
Excuse me, but we don't really have the options. Don't you put out specifically what they are bidding on, so everyone's bidding on the same
We
type
set
of...
up, yeah, we do set up the specs, but I think Ms. Bargon is referring to possibly some of the titles at the top are alternates.
Okay.
So that gives us options depending on budgetary. If those bids come in, we can take and say, no, we don't want the alternate because they've come over budget or something like that.
Right, choices. Okay.
So 6E, transportation site remodel, this is information only then tonight, right?
Correct.
So
this will include the service building demo, and then we will begin the process of relocating our fueling station, and we're going to have to replace our tanks. So we'll go from 3 tanks to 2 tanks, and then add a propane system with it. Along with that comes a retention pond at the requirement of the county, and then some remodeling at the transportation building, the bus garage itself.
any question on this information? No?
I just want to commend you. I know this has been on the backlog for some time, and I know this is something we've been wanting to do for a long time, and really just so happy for our transportation department and all of the fabulous people we have working there that will be able to make this come to fruition. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mary?
So we don't have the information, this is just a request for proposal. So when you do that, the process is, as a district, we want to have different options, so we put it out there and then multiple companies ask.
Well, in this situation, there's not a whole lot of options. It's very specific in the bid due to the requirements of what transportation's got to have there, and especially when it comes to tank replacement and how we handle that with the EPA and so forth. So it's going to be very specific in that. So we will receive the bids, interview the companies, verify the bid met specs, and that and interview the company for their past performance.
Okay.
Okay. 6F, bid pack 1805, Riverside partial roof replacement.
If you notice on Riverside Elementary School, there is an area there that is shingled. Those shingles need to be replaced, and keeping with the process, eventually Riverside will be renovated totally, but we need to act on this portion of that renovation. We do like to do the renovations in one building all at one time, so it doesn't damage anything, but this particular area is a roof, and so it won't be damaged when we do the full renovation of the building. It'll be a metal roof replacement that'll go 50 years.
Any questions for Bill on Riverside? Joan?
It's actually just a request so that when we have this go down to the action items in our next board meeting packet, can we just make sure the word partial is in the statement just for historical purposes when we go back to look? Thank you.
Thanks. Next is G, roof replacement, Covert Center and Kettering High School. Bill?
Yes, these are partial roof replacements. Just these are areas of need. As the snow melts, we're finding more and more roofs that actually need repair. So Kettering High School, this will be the front counseling office area and or more of just the general area of the front where the offices are, and the west side of the old gym. Not on the gym roof, but next where the building structure begins, next to the gym. And then at Covert, it's the MIS offices and their conference areas.
Any questions for Bill on Covert and Kettering? Thank you, Bill. Next,
Can I jump in real quick?
sure.
Bill, on Kettering, did you say the older gym? Sorry.
Yes.
Now, is the new gym, I know a month or two ago, I was at a basketball game, and we'd had a lot of snow, and it had melted, and we had it all roped off, we had trash cans, and obviously, nothing we could do. It happened, so we made it. But are we not looking to fix that so that doesn't happen, or why wouldn't that be included?
Our consultants are looking into, these things have been put in the pipeline along. Our consultants are looking to see what repairs are going to be made. You make a great point. These facilities look fabulous and they look brand new. They are getting pretty old.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's,
so,
yeah.
so the roof on there, I wouldn't be surprised that when we go to do the Kettering renovation, may need to be replaced.
Awesome. That's what I was thinking. If we're going to do that building and we're going to be there, and if we have a problem, why wait? Let's fix it while we're there.
Yep.
You know, good, thanks.
Old and flat. You'll never have roofs go away, will you, Bill?
No, no. I think we could use the whole $100 million bond on just roofs, but we won't do that.
Thank you. Next information is the results of the sale of the school district's bond series 2018 series 3, or 2016 series 3.
Yes, on Tuesday, February 20th, 11 o'clock, we sold $10 million worth of bonds. This is a reflection of the good values of our properties, homeowners and commercial property values going up. We received several bids. Fifth Third Securities was the winning bidder at 2.9%. It was a very good offering. We sell our bonds competitively. Some people do negotiated sale, but competitive bid always comes up, you know, for a fact. You had the lowest bidder because it's on Wall Street. It's an electronic bid process, and as you can see on here, all the different bidders put it in comparison. We are slightly higher in an interest rate from the $50 million that we did in September. But what the good news on that is that we all know that interest rates have jumped on the 10-year Treasury more than 0.5%, and yet we just went up just slightly, and that's a reflection of our S&P rating. Danielle and I were on an S&P conference call, and they liked what we're doing here. They like seeing the fund balance grow to where it is today, and the successful things that we're doing in the district and how we're spending the money. And so even though interest rates went up substantially, this sale came in very, very good.
Any questions? Joan?
I just would like to commend you, Bill, and Danielle, and the entire department. This is not an easy thing to do. The S&P rating is really a testament to the hard work that your entire department does each and every day, and the work that the Waterford School District does. And to be selling these bonds competitively takes more work and more time and more effort, but you ended up with an excellent rate that, at the end of the day, just gives Waterford more money to work with to do the kinds of things that we need to do. Just a fantastic result, and it's a result of the day in, day out, relentless hard work that you do with integrity, and I just want to thank you for that.
And I really appreciate that, and on behalf of Danielle's department and Danielle and myself, we do appreciate that. You did mention competitive bid. I would like to mention too that one of the other reasons that we're able to do this is with those competitive bids over the last 6-7 years, we've refinanced all of our debt and saved over $11 million to the taxpayers in this community.
Extraordinary.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Any other questions for Bill on bond series? Okay, we move to the 17-18 revised budget. Bill?
All right. Why do we do a revised budget? Well, when we get into the fiscal year, many of the estimates that we're doing, especially when it comes to state revenues, maybe they haven't passed the law yet to officially confirm how much money we're going to receive. Because remember, we're doing this budget really in the April, May, and then finally with a presentation to the board in June. And I believe it was probably December when the state actually signed off on how much money we're going to receive. So, and by that time, we also know what our actual year-ending results were, so we can adjust from budget to actual to find out where our fund balance is. And then there's, obviously, as the year goes on, there's other issues that come up, maybe possibly more revenues from grants. You'll see in here tonight that a lot of this information, or a lot of the change in the dollar amounts came from a one-time payment from the retirement system, the state. They gave it to, it was just a pass-through. They gave it to us and it went right back out. So, let's start off with year-end results last year, 16-17 year-end results. $528,000 better than budget. That's really good news. That drove our fund balance to 5%, got us at that $5 million mark. And then in the state aid, we budgeted that we'd have $90 per student. We actually came in at $119, $29 more, and that totaled $261,000. Our FTT was a little bit better, 24 students, $186,000. And they also put out there in the state aid new high school student membership bonus of $25. That totaled $72,000. And as I just mentioned, the one-time payment for retirement funds of almost $1.3 million. You'll see that in a few seconds. We get into expenditures. It's strictly a pass-through, so we received it and we paid it out. Then we have a bilingual education grant, same thing, $36,000, and the new computer adaptive test. Those three items, the 1.3, the 36, and the $41,000, all of those items are passed through. Well, they come in, and then you'll see the offsetting expenditure. Then we had an increase in 31A at-risk funds of $440,000. Then if you net all the other changes throughout the state aid, it comes to $116,000. Good news, as I mentioned about property values going up, that means that our property refunds are going down. So as we pay less in local refunds, that means that we also receive less state aid in that area, because we receive the local property taxes from the county, but if we have to pay the refund back, then the state of Michigan would pay us back. So you'll see a corresponding expenditure decrease for the same amount of money.
Bill, those refunds are a result of tax tribunals where the homeowners go or the businesses go and then end up at the state level, and that takes some time, and then they have to be reimbursed.
Correct. Correct. And the good news is we've been trailing down. I mean, at one point, this was almost $1 million. So most recent years, right around the $600,000 mark, and we've really whittled it down since then. So we also have intermediate voc ed increase of $34,000, and then our federal funds, mostly in Michigan Works and IDEA, went up $421,000. There's some decreases. Our P18 Special Education Center program tuition transfer, it's a really good decrease to the general fund. It's really a transfer over to based on tuition rates, because when we do send our own kids to our own center program, that tuition is charged to us, so that totaled $400,000. Then we also had some additional cost of $156,000 go over there. Local property taxes, $59,000. E-rate funding of $125,000. Summer Academy, and these are the items I mentioned at our study session. Summer Academy of $102, child care contribution is $70, facility use $75, and then if you net all the other local, it's $25,000, $359. On the expenditure side, as we went into the year, good news, we needed to fill some areas for kids. We added 5 teachers. Without the fringes, it's $200,000. We did a bus driver wage increase to attract more drivers here, and without the fringes calculated, and I do this because we do some other fringe lines below, so we had to separate this out, but without the fringes, that was a $131,000 increase. And then attorney fees, $95,000. And as I mentioned, the 31A at-risk funds of $440,000. You saw the revenue, and now you see the expenditure. The bilingual of $36, computer adaptive test for $41. So you saw those revenues; those are going out, and the one-time IPSRS payment of almost $1.3 million. Federal programs, same thing, $421,000. Capital improvement projects, $100,000, and then the Comcast fiber network totaling $105,000.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The attorney fees going up $95,000, so we already had a budget for that, correct? And then it went up?
Correct.
$95,000. In our budget meeting last time, actually, I missed the adding to the agenda, so I guess I'll ask you the questions now, Bill, that if it's when it hits that spot. But it was mentioned that we had a very litigious year, and that's why it was $95,000 higher. I guess I'm just wondering, like, why I wasn't aware as a board member that we had a very litigious year, and I'm wondering if we should be in knowledge of that and why that doesn't happen.
Do you want me to field that? Because I was the one that made the comment? Or do you want?
No, you weren't. Actually, it was Danielle. I thought that said that.
Well, if you remember, we had quite a few people come to the podium, and a couple of them resulted in a FOIA request with a FOIA denial, with a request, with a denial. We kept having to have legal input on what we could and couldn't release, and what had to be redacted and what wasn't redacted. And that, every time that happens, we have to have our attorneys involved. And so that was something that we were aware of because we kept getting these updates, but that eats away at our legal budget, that costs attorney fees, and that's why we get really frustrated, because that's money that comes right out of our classrooms.
I would be able to infer that too based on our conversation, but I'm wondering if if we should be formally notified on what lawsuits we have, what's pending, what's still going on. We have no idea as a board. And to spend $95,000 and just have it be a line item that just gets dropped on us and not knowing that was happening or coming, I'm just suggesting that we should be informed of that. And as a board, I would believe that's our role, that we should know that.
I'm not aware of any time since I've been on the board that I, as a board, have not been notified of a lawsuit against the district.
Comment?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that we were informed because I know there were motions for injunctive relief, there was responses, replies, and many things of that nature, and just, with all of that, that litigation going on and the back and forth of going to court, hiring the attorneys to write briefs, it does get expensive. Those legal bills go up fast, but I think that, the situation really can't explain, but for confidentiality reasons, but the idea is that it's good for us to have representation by an attorney, because if we don't, we could be causing ourselves even more harm. So we want to spend money, and I think if it's needed, it's part of the cost of what we have to pay to make sure that we're protecting ourselves in the district.
I think, too, it's important to recognize that every one of these bullets on this presentation and the binder does represent complete transparency in what we've spent and how much we went over budget, because a revised budget shows what we budgeted versus where we either had savings or loss in that budget category. So I think that is very transparent, and there's numerous instances here in front of us, and that's really why we do a revised budget, so that we have that visibility.
If I can, Sure. Can I talk? Okay, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have lawyers, that's not what I said, and it didn't say that, it doesn't say it on here. What I'm asking is, should we be aware, suits can last for years and years, they can come and be done quickly. Being told briefly about, I think I remember one thing is not what I'm talking about, just a running list, like here's what our litigation is, here's what we're doing, here are the pending cases out against the district, and then maybe, I understand confidentiality, I know it can't be whatever, but there's going to be topics, there's going to be reasons, and as a board, there could be trends that could tell us about things in the district. I just kind of found it $95,000 over whatever is originally budgeted, and all I could do was assume, based on a few parents who came to board meetings or whatever, and hearing follow-up, that maybe that's what it was from. But again, I'm saying maybe assume, and I'm just wondering as a board if there should be a request. I'm sure there's a master list somewhere of what we're dealing with as a district, what kind of lawsuits we have against us, and how long they occur, and the cost.
Well, I'm very confident the district's kept us updated on current lawsuits, and most of these increased fees at the direction of this board, because we made the request back to the administration that we wanted a legal opinion before something came out. And you can look at this a couple ways, and I know John Paul deals with attorneys and prices, and this could be a savings. This could be eventually a future savings, because we need legal advice to save us money potentially in the long run. But
Right, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying to have a running list of what's going on, just so we can see it. I just think that's what oversight is, where you just, you look at it.
And yet, sure.
I guess what you're looking for, Mary, is probably some kind of itemization invoice of what we're paying in attorney fees, how many hours it was, things like that, right?
Well,
Something
and
that would
what the
account for the
cases are, what the
$95,000.
topics are, who's bringing suit against the district. It's, it's not our personal money, it's community money. So what's happening,
Is that something that we could produce?
Do we want to hire someone to put that?
No,
I mean,
I'm not saying that.
Okay, we already overwork our staff
No,
who has this.
and that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, there's some itemization that would show what we're paying on an hourly rate, correct, for attorney, how many hours it was. And essentially, I think that's all it would be. And that would be something that I think would be readily available that I think Mary would probably like to see.
But I don't know if I want like hourly, I just want to know like what our cases are against us, or what's pending, who's suing us, why.
I think if
And then how long is it going on for, and what the topic is.
I think if you look at the hourly rate, though, you'll see how quick attorney fees can add up.
I'm sure.
And I think that that was something.
7 of us do not have any idea why we got charged $95,000. Why? I assume, I think.
Well, we are aware of the lawsuits. That's why we go into executive session. We're the ones usually giving the direction to get legal advice in almost every instance. So we are aware of this.
Well, if there's still a case going on that's been going on for years, that started before I joined the board, then I don't know of it.